outstanding edition of Jofo in the Ring. As you already know by now, I am the harbinger of truth, Jeremy Prophet, and I, as always, am not alone. Even though I'm alone in studio, I'm always joined by a very special guest. I don't fly this ship solo, and today, my esteemed guest, my co-pilot, is none other than the leader of Shane Taylor Promotions, Ring of Honor superstar, Mr. Shane Taylor himself. Welcome to the show, Shane.
What's going on, man? Thank you for having me. Don't forget 1/3 of the current Ring of Honor World 6-Man Tag Team Champions. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, damn right. We got to mention the fact that you got the gold. You fought pretty hard to get that along with the rest of your group there. I kind of wanted to give the fans a bit of background about you.
Right.
So I'd like to let you take that away. Maybe let us know how long you've been in the business, some of your accomplishments, real quick right off the bat.
I mean, it's crazy to sit here and think about I'm going into my 14th year of professional wrestling. For those that don't know, come from the east side of Cleveland, Ohio. Grew up pretty rough. Had to grow up pretty fast, you know, but no different than anybody else who's grown up in the inner cities. Same problems: drugs, guns, violence. But was fortunate enough to have the right people around me at the right times in my life to get to where I'm at right now, because things could have easily went left. And now here we are, you know, fast forward, 35 years old, father of 2 beautiful kids, able to now change some of the cycles of poverty and circumstance that so many people like myself had to endure. And now we're here, you know, traveling the world, doing what we do and providing inspiration to others.
Yep. And I think it's great that you touch on a lot of those things, because one thing that I've been very outspoken about when I appear as a guest on a lot of these podcasts is that a lot of times people ignore the harsh realities of the world. You know, a lot of times people are happy, you know, they want to project that, putting smiles on people's faces and whatnot. But I feel oftentimes the reality of what the common man is going through gets forgotten. And that's why I appreciate your brand. And I appreciate that, you know, anytime you got a microphone in front of you, you're not shying away from where you came from and now working towards being able to inspire that next generation. So sincerely, I do think that you're on the right path. And I appreciate the fact that you keep it real every chance that you get.
Thank you.
One of the things I wanted to mention, Cleveland. It's interesting because I was in Cleveland going back to 2007.
Right.
And I get the impression we may have almost crossed paths, because I would always hear about 2 guys coming out of Cleveland. You know, when I would inquire, I went down there to do some work with a promotion. Don't really remember the name. And to be quite honest, my liaison, the guy who was kind of hooking me up, he kind of fell through on a lot of promises. But the 2 names that always came up were Johnny Gargano and Jack Frost. And in doing my research, that was actually you were Jack Frost originally.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've kind of always been someone that, you know, in your area, it seems like you were a big deal. And I think that this has all come to fruition now with you being one of the top performers in Ring of Honor. Maybe you could take us on that journey from starting out in Cleveland and what that was like, and then how the dots were connected to where you are now as a main eventer in Ring of Honor.
I mean, it would be easy to sit here and try to like weave this web of how it went down. But honestly, the dots start and end with Ray Rowe. With Ray Rowe and a guy by the name of Jerry Myers, a.k.a. J-Rock. Like you said, there's always been those top guys in the area. And it was Gargano, it was Rowe, J-Rock, Michael Hutter at the time, who was going by the Deviant, but is now EC3. So John McChesney, guys like that, even Bill Collier. So it's the same circle of guys. And I was fortunate enough to come around at a time where Cleveland was sort of split down the middle between 2 groups. You had the AIW crew, which was Gargano and some other cats. And then you had a different crew that split. I came in right as that split happened. And I went with Rowe and the Firestorm crew. And that's who has allowed me to grow, blossom, who's been able to provide opportunities for me to be able to not only grow my craft, but grow as a man, grow as an individual. And those same connections not only helped me grow in Cleveland, but when I moved down to Texas in 2014 end of 2013, after being in the Northeast and Midwest for 6+ years, decided to move down to Texas. Ray was down here as well. Decided to revamp and just rechange everything, give myself a fresh start. And it was the best thing I've ever done. Got hooked up with him down here with Luke Hawks and Wildcat Sports in New Orleans. And that just lit a new fire and a new confidence in me, that there were people that saw that I could be the guy that can lead a company, that I can be the guy that people get behind, not just Black people, not just my minorities, but everybody can get behind because of who I am, what I do, and how I carry myself. So all of those interactions and all of those opportunities laid all the foundation and all the groundwork for what you see in ROH right now, which is me having the utmost confidence and the utmost belief in myself and the guys around me to say and do the things that we know that we have the capability of doing. And that's being champions and being leaders.
And I totally see that. And I think that in wrestling in general, confidence is key, because you got to believe what you're saying if you want everyone else to believe it. And I definitely see that with you. I mean, man, when there's a microphone in your hands, I'm definitely paying attention. I can remember one of my favorite promos that you did. There was one backstage when you were in a rivalry, I think, with Tracy Williams. And I remember you going off on him and saying, just because, you weren't able to evolve as quickly as all your other buddies. And I love that style. I mean, if you've seen me, I've been, doing this for 15 years, little younger than you, started fairly young. But, the microphone is key. You got to be able to make those people believe in you, make them want to see you. And I definitely believe you are head and shoulders above many of your peers, if not all of them, in Ring of Honor when it comes to that. And that's what drew me to you. And that's why I was happy when, they told me we had the opportunity to do this interview, so I could pick your brain on some of this stuff and, maybe find some common ground here between us. So are you,
Yep.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You were going to say?
Oh, no, I was just saying that's exactly what you got to do. And people ask me all the time. They're like, the things that you say, they sound so real. It's like, because I believe what I'm telling you. Like, there's no difference for me between us having this conversation right now and you putting a microphone in my face. It's the exact same guy. And when you look at, my competition as far as microphone work, I think the be all end all for that as far as ROH goes is Jay Briscoe. You know what I mean? Look at what he was able to do with the build up for his match with EC3 on the last pay-per-view. It was, that's the standard, right? So I patterned myself after trying to go after the very best in each individual category of what it is that we do. So when you look at in-ring, you talk about guys like Jay Lethal, Jonathan Gresham. But when you talk about connecting through a microphone and the words you use, the competition is Jay Briscoe. So that's who I'm after.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. And, I use an approach where I say, I don't necessarily look to wrestlers or wrestling in my mic work. I'm kind of more inspired by hip hop. I look to a guy like Ice Cube, who's one of my biggest inspirations, because he had the ability to, throw out a rhyme, throw out a diss, and people would never look at the person he's talking about the same way again. And that's kind of my approach to promos and whatnot, because I feel it's a lost art when it comes to promos and the idea of, look, you gotta sell something to the people. You gotta make them want to invest, want to buy that pay-per-view, buy that ticket for the show. It's not just talking for the sake of talking. So, I recognize that, but I also like the fact that, and I'll use hip hop as the example again. Not sure if you're a hip hop fan, by the way. Are you?
Of course.
Okay. No, I don't want to take it for granted.
Very true. Very true.
When it comes down to it, I look at it like when you had Sugar Hill Gang, and people thought that was a representation of what, rap and hip hop was. Until finally, guys like NWA started coming along and actually talking about the reality. This is what we're living on the streets. This is what we're living on a daily basis. And that infusion of reality made people start to take notice. And so anytime I see somebody, and I feel like I'm repeating myself, but you know, you're deserving of this because that is your brand and you're helping to shed light on that. When someone can bring the reality, people will relate. And so again, all that to say, I think you're doing a fantastic job of that. Keep up the good work. And, you know, I'd love to stand, as much as I love standing across from you on a microphone here to do an interview.
Right.
I think that in a wrestling context, we could definitely do a lot of good business like that. But
for
now,
sure.
wanted to move on to, you know, you went down to Texas. Are you still in Texas now?
I am. I'm
Okay.
in my home here in Houston.
Oh, wonderful. And so when you made the move to Texas, did you join up with like a wrestling school, or did you, you know, anything along those lines?
When I came down to Texas, there was a company called NWA Houston at the time, which then changed to Lone Star Championship Wrestling. Though that was the very first place that sort of I was able to get. Well, Ray was able to get my foot in the door when I got down here, and that's where I met guys like Jack Stain, like Keith Lee, and you know Barrett Brown, and a host of other great performers that I've gotten to know since I've been down here. And then through those matches and those connections, those relationships, was able to go into New Orleans with Wildcat and Luke Hawks, as I mentioned. And that's kind of what helped spur the rest of the opportunities that I've gotten. So big shouts out to everybody who's been involved with those groups, because if I wasn't able to learn from them and get those opportunities there, we're not even having this conversation. So yeah, huge shouts out to them.
And how soon after that did you make your first attempts with Ring of Honor, your first couple of matches there, tryouts, if you will?
I want to say like 2015. So I was down here for about a little over a year or so. Had some dark matches there. And then what we tried to do, and again, this is where I want to, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, but this is where, you know, Ray has been so influential in my career. And then, I mean, he's been influential my entire career because he helped train me, but he would actually like forego his flights. They would want to fly him out and he would drive with me to Nashville, to Atlanta, to wherever there was anything close that wasn't like far East Coast or like far Midwest, to help me get these chances and get these looks. So anytime I had these matches, the goal was to see what the critiques were, fix them, check those off, and then go back again. You know what I mean? Having shown that I can be coachable, that I can listen and things of that sort. So we did that for a while, for a little over a year and a half, 2 years. And then they started to see me and Keith arrive at the same time in the suits, pretty boy killers, you know what I mean? And that's when they saw that combination, that's when they decided, hey, we really like this. And then the ball started to really get rolling.
Mm-hmm. And so it sounds like this was a calculated plan, that you and Keith knew that, you know, you guys stick together, show up, be presentable, have the right kind of attitude, and eventually good things would come from it. And in both cases, clearly it did. Yourself with Ring of Honor, Keith Lee, you know, with the career that he had that took him many places currently in WWE. How long had you known Keith when you guys started teaming like that?
I'd known him only for a bit. I mean, for that time that I've been down here, you know what I mean? Like, we both saw what we were doing singles. And originally, the NWA tag titles were in Noah. And they were looking for a team to go compete there. And so I was talking to Keith, and the way we saw the sport, the way we saw the business was very similar. The way we wanted to represent ourselves and the culture is very similar. So my talks with him were, hey, individually, we're going to be just fine, but there's nobody as a team that's got anything for us. Size, speed, athleticism, power. We can do everything there is to do in the ring and out of it, and reshape what people think a superstar is, or what they assume a champion is, what they assume a top guy can be. And that's what we wanted to do. And the goal was to be able to make careers out of this optimally in the same place, but the main goal was accomplished. He has his career where he's at. I have my career where I'm at. And yeah, I mean, that's what we wanted to do. And now we're able to take that same mission and spread it across 2 different universes.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, nowadays Keith Lee is a bit of a hot topic because, you know, he came in with a lot of fanfare in his run in NXT, was the North American and NXT champion at the same time. It was a great moment. Got called up to the main roster, and the reaction to that has been pretty polarizing, leaning more towards people feeling like they're not using him anywhere close to his full potential. You know, if we could maybe just ask you real quick, what's your take on Keith Lee and the kind of purgatory of a situation he finds himself in right now, you know, not being on television and being someone that a lot of people feel is not being used to his full potential?
I think that anybody that knows Keith knows he's going to make the best of anything that he's involved in. We all know what he can do. We don't know what the ultimate plans are with him or all the details of what's going on. So my advice would be to sit back and be patient and just wait. We know what happens and what he can do when there's no restraints on him. And that's ultimately what I think we all hope to see, is that unchained version of Keith. So, I mean, we just have to wait. We just have to wait and see. But at the end of the day, his check's still clear and he's still able to, you know, to live a great life. You know what I mean? So I don't think he probably hears as much of the noise as we do. But you know, who knows? But we all know what he can do, and I think that's just what we're hoping for, is to be able to see that on a national scale.
And do you feel that, you know, maybe if things don't work out for Keith where he is now, you know, you'd be happy to take him in Shane Taylor Promotions and tear things up in Ring of Honor?
Man, he already knows what it is. He knows there's an open door for him wherever it is I'm at. That's the way our crew runs. You know, because people ask all the time, like, do you still talk to? Yes, we talk damn near every day. You know what I mean? Like, that's
kind of why I wanted to get it out of the way pretty early.
Yeah, like just because we work in 2 different places doesn't mean like we stop being friends. You know what I mean? Like we attack different problems and issues from different angles. You know what I mean? So like that's just who we are. Same thing with Ray Rose, same thing with everybody else in our crew. You know what I mean? This is what we do. And there's no reason why, if he was to leave or what, you know what I mean? Like he knows that the door is wide open for him to come join STP. And all the guys know, and I'm sure he would be a welcome addition to everybody on the crew. So, yeah, that's not even a question.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good to hear. Now, getting back to you, one of the things I had noticed in doing my research about you was that you have quite an extended athletic background. You had done some boxing, done a few other things. And, you know, I think it's great to see, because obviously at your size, you know, being an athlete that can move well, that makes you quite an imposing force. Maybe tell us a little bit about your athletic background before you got into professional wrestling.
I mean, yeah, it's just a lot of people don't know. Like, I've lived on Army bases with my dad for a long time. So from, let's see, 35 now. So we're talking 28 years boxing training, if not more. Hand-to-hand combat training, weapons training. I mean, football, track and field, amateur wrestling from the time I was like 13. You know what I mean? Like, I'm able to do just about anything I need to do in the ring and out of it. People assume because I'm a bigger guy that I must be lacking in athleticism, until they get in the ring with me, or they disrespect me outside of it and see I'm not anything that they thought, you know, they were getting involved in. But yeah, this is just all part of what I bring to the ring. You know, I mean, that's why I'm able to throw strikes the way I do, because I know movement, I know fighting, I know boxing, I know angles, I know how to roll, slip punches, roll with stuff. You know what I mean? Things like that. So those are the things that I take into account when I'm performing, because these are real life things when it comes to combat. You know what I mean? One of the people that I give a lot of credit to in their style is a guy like Tamatonga, right? Who uses evasiveness and defense for his offense. That's exactly what you're supposed to be doing, right? Like this is the art of, you know, just like boxing, this is the art of being of hitting and not being hit, right? So why would you not use all of those things to your advantage to tell that story, right? So I'm always a fan of guys that use stuff like that in professional wrestling, because when you talk about simulated combat, why would you not use defense? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting. You brought up so much there that like I didn't know, and a lot of points that we have in common too. You know, my father was in the Canadian Armed Forces here in Canada. Was also a boxer in the Air Force, undefeated as well, and that's legit. I wouldn't have believed it, but he actually showed me a certificate that they gave him when he was discharged.
Right, because the kids never believe it, right? They're like, "Oh yeah, whatever. You were undefeated, all right, Dad." You know, like, all right, let me go get the receipts. You know, let me show you.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I had to see it to believe it, and.
100%.
One of the things, one of my biggest takeaways, like when I had done tryouts with WWE, was William Regal would always stress, boxers have the best type of footwork for professional wrestling. And that actually inspired me to actually go out and further do some boxing training, just to improve my footwork, to improve my in-ring game as well. You also mentioned track and field. I also competed in track and field. Curious to know, what were some of the events that you excelled at?
Shot, disc, we did... we didn't do javelin, but then we also did like 4x1 relays too. So, I was doing a little bit of everything. You know what I mean? So, and it played multiple positions in football, from fullback to long snapper, center, the whole offensive line, the whole defensive line, linebacker, tight end. I was able to do everything. You know what I mean? Had the speed, the hands, everything that you would need. And so I've just encompassed all of that athleticism into professional wrestling, just to show again, like, and these are things that I don't pull out every match because I don't need to, right? Like, I will pull it out when necessary, just to remind people, just to show you that it's in the bag of tricks. You know what I mean? Okay. And just to respect it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I'm the polar opposite of you when it came to track and field. I wasn't so much of a discus, shot put, that kind of guy. I was more the long jump, high jump, 4x100, 100-meter dash. I'd wanted to be the world's fastest man. We had a Canadian, Donovan Bailey, who was the world's fastest man for the longest time. I wanted to shatter that record. Then, wrestling found its way into my life, and I said, hey, why am I doing track and field? I always felt like, hey, I was a wrestler doing track and field. I was out there cutting promos on guys and, doing all kinds of outlandish stuff, just wilding out on the track field. I actually got a suspension at one point because things got a little physical after an event that a guy kind of made contact with me in a 4x100, and they didn't disqualify him. So I threw the baton at him and caused a bit of a scene. But I digress. I always say I was a wrestler doing other sports, playing hockey, baseball, track and field. But finally found my way into professional wrestling. So now I want to talk a little bit about some of your rivalries in Ring of Honor. We recently saw... I would just like to take this time to tell you people about something that you should go ahead and do, and that's head on over to Balboa Bakery. I mean, we tell you literally every single week on this show. So if you haven't been to Balboa Bakery, what the hell are you doing? Head on over there, 102 Saint Jean-Baptiste, Local 52. And even I'm going to head over there because I heard that they have now added a lot of healthy products to the menu by popular demand. Popular demand probably being me complaining about it week in, week out. But yeah, I'm going to be heading over there, so y'all should do the same. Balboa Bakery. Go the distance. About some of your rivalries in Ring of Honor. We recently saw on the 19th anniversary, you guys got the victory over Mexa Squad. Fantastic match from start to finish. A lot of innovative offense in there. And also, you're coming off of a title match with Roosh. Unfortunately, things didn't go your way, but I think definitely it was a treat for the people to see that match. How have you grown from that title match, and do you foresee yourself going more for that singles title or focusing on the 6-man world title tag titles that you have now?
I think even though it was a hard lesson to learn, Kenny King actually helped me. You know what I mean? Because again, I had everything planned out. I had a answer for every question. I had an answer for every person involved. Excuse me, except for him. So going forward, I think it's just a case of keeping the circle even smaller, only trusting the guys that I know are going to war with me night in and night out, and that's my guys. So, thank you to him for that, because that's a lesson that's definitely learned and will be answered shortly. And as far as the title goes, my main concern right now is defending the Ring of Honor World 6-man tag team titles, because there is a whole roster full of people who are waiting for their opportunity, waiting to be told, hey, this is your chance to go out there and show what you got. And they're not the favorites. They're not the guys that the machine is behind. They're just waiting, right? So I know what it feels like to be that guy. That's why Shane Taylor Promotions exists, because I was that guy. And so what I want to do is be able to show we don't have to work with anybody else. We don't have to bring in whoever. We have a whole roster full of talent that's ready to go right now. So the 6-man titles will be a platform for that, because they're the only titles with no ranking system. So anybody that wants it can get it. Find 2 people, find 3 people, find whoever you want. And what makes us different than the foundation or anybody else is you don't have to conform to our rules. We'll let you make the rules. We will give you the shot, let you make the rules. We'll walk into your house and beat your ass still, because that's who we are. You know what I mean? That's what the baddest do. And that's what Ring of Honor was founded on. Regardless if you're pure, regardless if you're regardless of whatever you are, whatever style you like, it was the baddest versus the baddest to see who the best was at the end of the day. And that's what we represent more so than anybody, regardless of who likes it or who doesn't. So that's my focus. And going forward, I think that whoever the Ring of Honor World Champion is, whether it's Roosh, whether it's whoever it is, until you beat me, you're not the baddest dude in ROH. You are Joe Frazier when Ali got stripped of the titles. You are Cormier, even though I respect him, when Jones got suspended. You might be the champ, but you ain't the man. You know what I mean? So that's the way I see it. Congratulations to whoever has it. Congratulations to whoever wins it. But until you beat me, I'm not impressed.
I think that's a good way of looking at it. And, with that victory that you guys had over Mexa Squad, I mean, I had Amy Rose on here. She was very high on Mexa Squad. What can I say? Maybe, La Facción Ingobernables and their fellow countrymen. There's a bit of a peace treaty amongst them. But I said, look, when it comes down to it, those guys got a lot of fancy, flashy maneuvers. They got a lot of cohesion. But Shane Taylor Promotions, they'll straight up just punch you in the face, steamroll you. And, no matter how athletic you are, you got to be able to deal with that and survive that level of violence before, you can think about getting those titles. So I'm glad that my prediction was right, and that you guys put on an excellent match there. But I got to admit, you guys must have a big target on your back, because you got all these other teams talking about wanting to have all the belts. So, we recently saw the Foundation capture a number of those titles. Unfortunately for Jay Lethal, things, didn't go as planned for him. But they have a lot of the championships now: television championship, pure championship, tag team championships. They want that world title, and that's where their focus is at. But the 6-man titles, I think they're a little thirsty for that gold too. Same goes for La Facción Ingobernables. They want to save face. So I think that you're going to have a lot of guys coming after you pretty shortly.
And that's fine. We put the target on our backs for a reason, because we want that pressure. That's when we perform best. That's when I perform best. My question would be, you hear everybody talking about all the titles, right? What's the one set of championships you don't hear them talking about going after?
Yeah.
The 6-man titles. They talk about everything else. They'll talk about the tag team. They'll talk about the pure title. They'll talk about the TV title. They'll talk about the world title. Ain't nobody talking about coming after us. Nobody. There's a reason for that.
See, I like to use an expression when it comes to that where I say they think they want some till they got some.
Exactly.
And that's when it comes down. Yeah.
Everybody wants to talk about being a beast until it's time to go up against real beasts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what everybody wants. That's what everybody would like to believe they are, but they're not. And when it talks about, and when they talk about everybody in their groups having championships right now, that's us. We're the only ones really moving like they say they want to. Right? So my advice to them would be, if you don't really want that smoke, and your lungs aren't built for that, stop talking about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're only going to piss us off and make us come take what's yours.
Yeah. No, very well said. Now, maybe you could give us a little bit of background on Shane Taylor Promotions, how it came about. You know, how did you put this stable together?
The initial energy from it and the initial force behind it was I had won the television championship. And here I was thinking, you know, all my hard work is about to pay off. This is finally when the money, the recognition, all of these opportunities are going to come, because I had seen how television champions were promoted in the past, from Bobby Fish to Kushida to Silas to Kenny King, Jay Lethal, Taven, all these guys that have come before me that have won it. This was supposed to be my time, right? And then it wasn't. And then here I am as TV champion, arguably 1 and 1A in the company when it comes to championships. My name's not on the marquee. My matches aren't being announced. Why? What's the difference between me and everybody else? You know what I mean? But at the same time, you're promoting every other wrestler from every other company that's working with us. But yet here's a guy that's been busting his ass, climbed the ranks without the machine behind him. And this is the guy you're not supporting. Okay, if you won't do it, I'll do it myself. And that's what I did. And then informing the rest of the group, it was just finding, because synergy is everything in a team. It was finding the same people with like mindsets that wanted to represent themselves, represent their culture, represent their ideals on what this sport can be, represent themselves and change the way that society sees them, the way society sees us in this sport. And it was finding individuals like that. And that's why Ron Hunt, Khan, Moses, O'Shea, Edwards are the perfect fit for what we're doing. All unapologetic, all unwavering, all unafraid to be and say and do all the things necessary, you know, that come with fighting this fight. And there's no other group of people that I'd go to war with, or that I would want to go to war with than those guys.
Yeah. No, excellent. And you know, what I think is interesting is when I hear you talk about a lot of the obstacles that you faced, and, you know, the company not wanting to put you on the market and these kinds of things, that it just seems like just total injustice. But I get the impression this gave you a chip on your shoulder if you didn't have it already. Maybe it just increased that. I for one, just speaking from a place of, you know, we have to deal with a lot of obstacles here as well. Even just being Canadian is one of the biggest hurdles to have to overcome, because, you know, we obviously can't go there and get those same kind of opportunities because we got a border standing in front of us. So that, amongst other things, gives me a big chip on my shoulder, but I feel like that fuels me. That's what, you know, gets me going every morning to say, I'm going to go out and I'm going to be my best self, take no prisoners, and, you know, force people's hands to give me what I feel I deserve. I see a lot of that in you. And would you say that that chip on your shoulder has helped to catapult you to even higher heights throughout your career?
Man, 100%. And those that know me best, if they hear this, they're laughing right now because they know that's exactly where my mind is, right? And I'll be the first to admit, like, the way I think about things probably isn't the healthiest thing, right? Like, a lot of people should be motivated simply by just having this success, right? But I need the people that don't want me to have it to be there, right? Because that only furthers my desire to not only push myself, but to make people look stupid while I do it, right? To like there's a Genghis Khan quote that fits perfectly, and it's not enough that I win. All of my enemies must lose. You know what I mean? It's like,
Oh, yeah.
I can't just win. I need you to know that I won, and I need you to know that you lost. You know what I mean? I need you to understand that fact.
Hey, take it from a guy that totally agrees. Sometimes it's good to actually scorch the earth and take no prisoners.
Oh, 100% to go. Leave no doubt. I want you to know every obstacle you put in front of me, not only did I clear it, but now I've surpassed you in the race as well. You know what I mean? So, and to me, there's something righteous about that. You know what I mean? To just know that you did it with everything against you and still did it the way you wanted to accomplish it. And it's something so much better than I told you so. You know what I mean? It's I told you and I showed you. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's exactly what it is. And I personally think that I need that, right? I think if that wasn't there, things don't work the way they do. So I absolutely need that.
Yeah, no, I feel like we're very like-minded individuals, and I'm not just saying that because you were gracious enough to come on the show here.
Right.
But when it comes down to it, I mean, I'm the same way. I see a lot of people in wrestling, and I think that people talk about complacency and people talk about people getting comfortable and that kind of thing. And I get that can kind of come from a place of, now you're at a place in your life where you're getting decent money to do something you love. You're at a place you can pay your bills, you can provide for your family, and regardless of how hard you work. Contract's a contract. Maybe merch might bring in a little bit more, different ventures, outside ventures and whatnot. But I think that complacency kills a lot of people once they get there. And it's nice to see that someone like yourself, who is in a pretty good position, is still hungry for more. And I think that is going to be something that is going to catapult you to much higher heights for the duration of your career, which, I mean, you still got a lot of gas in the tank. Your best years are definitely in front of you, I would say. And, with that in mind, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I may be totally wrong on this, but you still got some time on your contract, or did you sign a new one recently?
I signed a 2-year deal with a 3rd-year option 2 years ago. So this is the 2nd year of that 2-year deal. Yep. So we will see what presents itself at the end of the year and going forward. But my focus, that's down the road. My focus is on making sure that the Shane Taylor Promotions brand, myself, and everybody involved is continuously building that buzz, continuously building our star power. And at the end of the year, we either stay or move as a collective, right? Yep. Because that's what this is. We see, we just saw recently, what we're trying to do isn't easy to maintain. You know what I mean? And egos, loyalty can be a question, not only in our area, but in different universes as well. It's hard to keep going something like we've built. And so that is the goal, right? Mm-hmm. This isn't just a fad, it's not a fad. This isn't the flavor of the month. Our goal is not to be the hot thing on social media. This is a movement and something that we can grow and something that can far outlast what we do in ring. And now we are putting together the foundations of that. And I'm excited to see where it goes.
Mm-hmm. And I definitely think that, when your contract does roll around, I think that you and the rest of Shane Taylor Promotions will probably be seeing, probably an extra zero at the end of that that paycheck. And I can't see why they would not want to just roll out the red carpet for you, open up that velvet rope, and back up that Brinks truck to make sure that you guys, continue to do the good work that you've built for Ring of Honor. You see, one of my goals in doing these interviews and whatnot is I want to get a lot of eyes on Ring of Honor. Y'all are on two TV stations here up in Canada. Unfortunately, not a lot of Canadian wrestlers there, but I know there's a lot of logistical issues, COVID being the main one right at this time.
Right.
But definitely want to get more visibility. And I love the fact that Ring of Honor, and I'll just tell it like it is, I love the fact that they showcase black wrestlers in an extremely positive light. You look at a lot of other companies, even for the longest time, a lot of top-level companies, things were fairly whitewashed, especially at the top of the card. But, seeing yourself, Jay Lethal, Jonathan Gresham, all in top-level matches, champions, featured performers on a weekly basis, I think that's great to see because now, young African-American kids can watch a show like Ring of Honor and see that, hey, people that look like me are in the main event. So I think definitely on that front, they are sending a more positive message than, just about any company right now. And, all that to say, every single one of those guys I mentioned, y'all are killing it in the ring. It must feel good to be part of a locker room like that.
100% it does. And that's again, that's why I love what we're able to do so much and tell all those stories and say and bring and deliver the same messages that you just touched on, right? Because talking about it is one thing. Making that the thing that you say to sound good is one thing, but delivering on that action and delivering on that message is another. And you know what I mean? And it boils down to that old saying, you can talk about it or be about it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And we are about it. And I'm glad we get to showcase that week in and week out with the performers that you mentioned. And not only that, but even though we have our disagreements, look at La Faction Ingobernable, look at Nexus Squad. They're all featured as well, and talent from all across the spectrum. You know what I mean? So we are setting that example and setting that. Making that the norm is what we want to do.
Mm-hmm. And that's something I'm really glad to see. I've been advocating very much for Canadians to be more present. And like I said, I know there are some logistical hurdles now, COVID being the main one.
Right.
But in speaking about Canadians, there is one Canadian in Ring of Honor, and I'd be remiss if I don't speak about him because he has been a rival of mine for quite a while, and that's PCO. I had quite a rivalry with him on his hashtag PCO Justice series. Known him for a number of years, and been in the ring with him on a couple of occasions as well. Have you had the chance to wrestle PCO on any of the Ring of Honor events?
I haven't. I haven't. That's one matchup that we seem to, ships in the night sort of situation and kind of just cross paths, but never really interact. So who knows? That may be something down the road. But no, I've seen his stuff. He's an absolute maniac, and congratulations to him on, not only where he's been, but the comeback he made all the way up to capturing the Ring of Honor World Title. You know what I mean? So he was able to do something that has eluded me and has eluded so many other people. So you got to give it up to him for that.
Yeah, definitely. As much as he and I have our differences, you can't deny what he's done. I'd love to see you two in a match together. I mean, you and I have never had the pleasure of meeting, but you look like, I would say you're probably maybe a little bit bigger than him. He's a pretty big guy himself. And thinking of Ring of Honor, you got to be two of the biggest guys there. Are you the biggest guy in Ring of Honor physically?
No.
Maybe one of the Beer City Bruisers?
Yeah, Beer City Bruiser and Malonis. Brody King is taller, you know what I mean? So there's some guys that are bigger than me, but there's nobody that hits harder than me. So
maybe just for our audience who's not familiar, because it's hard to perceive someone's height and size.
Right.
Let our audience know, like, how big are you exactly? Height and weight.
6'2", 315 pounds.
Yeah. No,
so fairly big guy. And when that guy can run a 5 flat 40 as well, you know what I mean? It's pretty good.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's a lot of size and a lot of athleticism to accompany it. And as you said, it's not necessarily how big you are, but how hard you hit.
Absolutely.
That's definitely important. Maybe you could tell us a bit about your training. What do you do to prepare for a match? What's a week like in the life of Shane Taylor leading up to a match in terms of the physical training that you do?
5 a.m. up, boxing training till about 6:30. Then get my kids up. Well, get my oldest daughter up, get her ready for school, get her all to school, sleep for a bit, wake up with the baby, take care of her all day. Once everybody gets back to the house, once the wife and the daughter get back, then it's off to lift, cardio, things of that sort. And then at night, try to hit another gym session, maybe get some more cardio in there, as well as the stretching and all of the other things that go with trying to keep your body ready to go for this crazy sport. So just day in and day out, the same stuff, man. Nothing flashy, nothing crazy, just grindstone work.
Yep. No, it's good to hear. And, it's interesting. You bring up your family. I love the fact that you bring up that you're a family man as well. I kind of think that maybe if they would showcase that on television, people might see that softer side of you and, maybe not think that you're such a bad guy because, much respect to anyone who make sure that family comes first.
Right. But I mean, here's the thing, right? What their perspective of me is going to be what it is, because the same people who see a negative, other people see as a positive, right? So I don't really care how people perceive me. I know what my intent is. I know what my purpose is. I know what my goals are, right? I mean, Colin Kaepernick made it very clear what his goals were, and people still hate him, right? So what people think of me, I don't give a damn. I know what I'm here to do. I know what I'm here to accomplish, and people can either get on the train and ride with me, or they can get ran over by the fucking train. I don't care.
That's very well said. One thing I wanted to touch on, because, you name dropped Daniel Cormier a little earlier on. You talked about your boxing training. I'm a very big UFC fan, very involved on MMA Twitter. Anytime there's a UFC event going on. Are you a UFC fan as well?
Yeah, I follow it for the people that I like. Again, boxing is my favorite sport other than wrestling, right? But my cousin, remember the name, Bilal Muhammad. He's out here killing it.
He's your cousin.
Yeah.
Wow.
Through marriage and all that stuff. But still got to support the family. He's out here killing it. Unfortunately, his fight ended with that eye poke. So I hope he gets the rematch that he deserves, because he's been working so hard and tearing it up. And of course, all the fighters from Cleveland. You got Stipe, Cody Garbrandt was from Cleveland too. So again, unfortunate, loss by Stipe, but he's still the GOAT. Out here crushing it, putting on for the city. So gotta respect it.
Yeah, no, and anyone who has the balls to step into that octagon and go to toe with another man in unarmed combat, mad respect for them. Any man or woman who does that. And yeah, it was definitely a rough night for Stipe, but I mean, there are some positives to take away from that fight too, because let's face it, even in the first round, Francis Ngannou looked like he was kind of starting to gas in there, and we all know in the first fight between Stipe and Francis that his gas tank didn't last very long, and then once it hit empty, it was all Stipe for the next 4 rounds. So I think that a rematch is definitely in order for those two. I know they're saying John Jones might jump the line, but that's not looking too likely, because as of today, he's been asking for his release and kind of trying to play some politics there. The way I see it, I think if somebody wants to fight, they'll want to fight, regardless of the logistics involved in it. But
but that's also easy for the company to say that, right? It's easy for them to say, well, if you want to fight, you'll just fight. And what that is you're going to take any bullshit deal we give you simply because we can make it seem like you don't want to fight. And that's not the case, right? I could want to fight all day, but you only have so many fights in you. Your body can only take so much punishment, right? So the same could be said from Jones's corner. Like, if you want me to fight, that's easy too. Give me the money I ask for. What's the problem? You know what I mean? If you're saying you want me to fight, then show me that, right? It's not on me to go out there and take the same beating for less money. It's on you to present this to the fans and make money off of it. So I get that. He could there. I don't think there's any lack of will for anybody saying, hey, I want to be paid accordingly for the risk and the damage that I'm taking. That's just a lot of what bigger companies do and say to make it seem like they're in the right, when really it's just they don't want to pay the money that people want.
Well, you touch on an interesting point, because I've been someone who's been very outspoken about fighter pay when it comes to guys in the UFC. And I think that it's ludicrous for the amount of damage and potential long-term damage that they sustain, that they are not paid as well as other combat athletes, specifically boxers, who, if you compare the pay scale of main event fighters, it's like night and day. I mean, there are fighters in one fight who can make what a UFC champion makes in his entire career if you add everything up, even before taxes, and having to pay your cornermen and whatnot. So that's something that I would like to see is fighters, get some. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. And not to cut you off, but exactly. Like, if you don't think right now John Jones couldn't go into professional boxing and a fight with him against Deontay Wilder or Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury couldn't make $100 million, you're out of your fucking mind.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So he's got that to play with, to go. I mean, look at what happened with Floyd and Conor. Conor made more with the Floyd fight than he has in any UFC fight ever.
Yep. Right?
So if the UFC wants to continue on the upward trend, you're going to have to pay these guys for what, especially with the growth and the popularity of the sport, you're going to have to compete with that, right? Or you're going to start losing key fighters to boxing. Boxing's going to have a resurgence, and then what happens to the UFC? You see what I'm saying? Like, who knows?
They got to change. They got to change with the times, because
exactly.
And especially with how short of a shelf life a lot of these fighters have. I mean, guys are only in the prime years of fighting for maybe, if they can do more than 5 years and stay on top, be that exception to the rule, like a Derek Brunson, who's been a top 10 fighter for, I think it's like 7 or 8 years. That's amazing. But most of these guys, they take that one bad loss. The chin's never the same. Concussions, post-concussion syndrome, CTE, all that kind of stuff. This is a reality. I mean, we face these same realities too as wrestlers. And when it comes down to it, a professional fighter, they're at so much risk that it's just insane to think that one fight, or even in training, their career could be done. And what do they have to show for it? It's something that really just, it's insane when you think about it. And I think more people need to be speaking up about it. And yeah, you make a great point there about John Jones wanting to get paid what he deserves for the risk of taking that fight with such a dangerous fighter like Francis.
And especially when you're talking about, he's been one of the guys who's been on top for how long? You know what I mean? The one loss he has, he was whooping the guy's ass in. You know what I mean? Like, he's arguably the greatest mixed martial artist of all time, with respect to Khabib and maybe Mighty Mouse. You know what I mean? Like, and look at how they did Mighty Mouse. You know what I mean? The dude was on top for like a decade, running through everybody, and they just never wanted to present him as the star that he could have been, right? So I can't be against people going, no, I'm not going to step in here with this monster that you want to beat me, and you're going to promote as the guy who beat me and make however many hundreds of millions of dollars off of my name, by the way. You know what I mean? If that's what happens, and then not pay me what I feel I've earned. You know what I mean? And if they're doing that to one of the GOATs, the average guy has no shot. You know what I mean? So gotta respect him. I can't argue against Jones in that regard. He's got to get his money.
Especially considering that you guys stateside are totally getting gouged on your UFC deal, between having to get ESPN Plus, then having to also buy the pay-per-view. It was like I had a conversation with Chris Van Vliet here on the show, and we were talking about UFC. He's a big UFC fan. If I'm not mistaken, I think he was actually based out of Cleveland too, Van Vliet, because he talked about Stipe and Cody Garbrandt and whatnot. And he was saying how, he finds it's really expensive. And I kind of regret that I responded and I said, yeah, but, it's really worth it. Not thinking that, we have a different deal here in Canada than you guys have, because we get the fights, other than the pay-per-views. We don't have to get ESPN Plus or anything like that. They're on free TV. They're on basic cable, on our French ESPN equivalent, and also on TSN, which is the English ESPN equivalent. But you still have to pay for the pay-per-views, obviously. In the UK, they get pretty much everything for free through BT Sport. And it's the Americans that are really getting gouged on that, which just means more money in the UFC's pockets. And unfortunately, no raise on the fighters' side, who are the ones actually pulling the wagon, doing the dirty work, day in, day out. It's insane. Yeah, it's always fun to talk with a fellow mixed martial arts fan. But, I kind of want to bring it back to Ring of Honor and whatnot. I wanted to ask you, what more do you feel you have to accomplish in your career, and what would be your next immediate goal?
I mean, there's 2 titles still unaccounted for. Well, 3 titles, really. So my goal from the beginning was to have people look back on my time in Ring of Honor the same way they look on Danielson's time, on Samoa Joe's time, on Jay Briscoe's time, and say that was his era of Ring of Honor. And I want all of the OGs who lived in that golden era to look at what I'm doing now and say, he could have done that with us too. You know what I mean? It means something when you stand across the ring from a Jay Briscoe at Final Battle, and to hear both of the Briscoes tell you you're the real deal. You know what I mean? That means more than anybody can really fathom. You know what I mean? Because you do this for the respect of your peers, the respect of the fans. And when you hear stuff like that, it only lets you know that you're on the right path. So that's the goal, and I want to be on that Mount Rushmore of Ring of Honor talent. I want to be one of the guys that, goes down in history as being one of the best ever to do that and to compete there. We're just a long list of people, but that's the goal. So again, we are greedy for success here in ASTP. We want it all.
Mm-hmm. And I've also been a very big advocate of, people are sleeping on Ring of Honor right now. People should be tuning in. They should not be missing out on this. This should be the talk of the town on, wrestling boards and within the wrestling community, because you guys have been putting out an excellent product, all of which is available on Honor Club. And the people can see a great program on a weekly basis, as well as those great pay-per-views. I'd love for a lot of the old fans to come back and to give Ring of Honor a chance to see what your generation of talent is doing, and take it from a guy who, I was a Ring of Honor fan from back in, I'd say around 02, 03. Was when I first started watching it, back in the days of like Low Key and Bryan Danielson and whatnot. Ring of Honor was this underground thing. I mean, I remember having VHS tapes of Ring of Honor when I started doing my wrestling training. And, one of the guys was like, you should look at this. This is the style of wrestling that, you need if you want to make it somewhere. This is within like my first couple of months of doing this. And that's when I discovered Ring of Honor. Like I said, guys like Low Key, Bryan Danielson, Paul London, guys like that. And I think that old fans should be checking back in, because I'm pretty sure if they catch, Shane Taylor Productions against Mexa Squad, they see Jay Lethal and Roosh, tons of great matches that took place at the 19th anniversary. I think it'd be enough to hook them back in, but I don't want to do the job. I mean, I'm happy to do it. Believe me, there's no one with a bigger mouth than me in Canada, but I'd love to hear in your words, what you would like to say to fans who have maybe tuned out of Ring of Honor and why they should tune back in.
I think for a long time, and especially the way people had presented it, that the popular thing to do was to dismiss Ring of Honor. And that was the wave that people were on for a long time. But we don't call ourselves the best wrestling on the planet for no reason. We say that's what we are because that's exactly what we do. And since before the pandemic, we were proving that. And now since coming back, I think more and more people are realizing that we've just continued to do that. And again, we do the things that other people talk about doing. We are what other people talk about being. And so for people who are watching it now, thank you. They understand that. For those that haven't, if they want to check back, great. And if they don't, we'll continue to do what it is that we're doing right now. And again, they'll be able to try to jump back on the bandwagon later, but this train is moving forward.
Now, when I had spoken to Rhett Titus, we did a live on here, and we were talking about the 19th anniversary. We got a question from a fan, and his answer was very interesting. So I wanted to throw the same question to you. It was a question about the so-called forbidden door being open. And, you know, I wanted to get what your thoughts would be on if that forbidden door is open to Ring of Honor and how you would feel about that.
I mean, I think I've made no secret that if something were to present itself that actually helped Ring of Honor, I'd be all for it. I think a lot of the times we've done stuff like that in the past. It hasn't. I think it actually hurt Ring of Honor more than it helped. So with the work that we've been putting in, the performances, the matches, the effort that everybody from top to bottom has put in, I think anything that doesn't help that is a disservice to all the work that people have put in. If it does, obviously it makes sense and let's do it. But unless that's the case, we've got a whole roster full of people that are still waiting for the chance to show what they can do. My thing would be, let's go with the people that brought us here and let us carry them and let's have them carry us through. Why change what brought you to the dance? You know what I mean?
Yep, definitely. And another hot topic that we had in those interviews was a lot of people got the name Andrade on their tongues, El Idolo. You got any thoughts on Andrade possibly coming into Ring of Honor, and you know how you'd feel about that?
Again, if it helps, great. If not, you know, I'm sure he's got a lot of options. There's the Roosh connection as well. So it is what it is. You know what I mean? My job is to have me and my guys prepared for whoever. So if he decides to walk his ass into ROH, I'll tell him, like I told EC3, like I'll tell everybody else that decides, you know, this is now the place that they want to go. This is our house. Respect that and wipe your feet before you walk into our house.
Now, very well said. And just wanted to ask you, because I mean, you know, you clearly know what you need to do and what you need to say to get you to where you want to be. And on that note, I wanted to know, is there maybe anyone who, I don't want to say has been ducking you, but, you know, maybe someone you'd like to get in the ring and it hasn't materialized yet?
There's a few people that
I'd love to know who they are.
Now, are we just talking about ROH or are we talking about in general?
In general.
Man, there's a lot of cats. You know what I mean? But
let's give us some names, man.
Shit, bro. Like, I would love to have that one-on-one match with Taven. I would love to have that one-on-one match with Okada, with Omega, with Moxley, with all of these guys that are top stars and all, you know what I mean? Like, again, I'm the baddest of all time for a reason. You know what I mean? And like I said, unless you do it against me, I'm not impressed. You know what I mean? They've all had great careers. They've all done great things. Respect to every single one of them. But again, what they've done against other people doesn't concern me. You know what I mean? I need to see, I need them to prove it to me. And until they do, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of people, you know what I mean? So I'm anxious to see what happens.
Now, Taven was the first one that you said. That's interesting because I've been in the ring with Matt Taven. He and I did battle in Maine many moons ago.
Very talented, very talented.
You guys have both been in the company for a long time here. And it surprises me that one-on-one hasn't materialized. Do you feel that that's political? Do you feel like he's being protected? I mean, let's shoot straight with us here. You know, who is he ducking you? Plain and simple.
I mean, you would have to ask Taven. You know what I mean? I can't speak for him. You know what I mean? I know that I defended the TV title in the UK against him.
Well, not to cut you off. I mean, I'd like to ask Taven, but, you know, he wasn't offered to me. So maybe he's ducking the interview with me, too. Who knows?
I don't know. You know what I mean? I know he's got his hands full with Vinny and he's doing his thing with Bennett, who, you know what I mean? Like, cool. But he knows what it's like to be in there with me a little bit. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like I said, man, there's a lot of people that are top stars that, you know, put them in the ring with me. Then let's see if they're really about that life that they talk about. You know what I mean? That's why I respect guys like Jay Briscoe, who were like, all right, you know what I'm saying? You want it, come get it. And you know what I mean? So, and me and him are 1-1, you know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to a third match with him. I have a singles loss to Jay Lethal that I want to get off, you know what I mean? That I want to correct. So there's that too. A lot of great matchups out there.
Yep. No, definitely a lot of options open for you there. And I think that, you know, in the near future, we'll probably be seeing some of those because clearly, you know, I'm already hyped to see some of those and to see those guys finally take you up on those challenges. But it's good that, you know, you are looking at the many avenues that you have in front of you. I think that you're a lot more cerebral than, you know, most people would think. But I think that just comes from being such a great seasoned veteran of the fight game. So with that said, I kind of wanted to, you know, throw things back to you here. Maybe you could let people know where they can find you on your socials and whatnot. Feel free. The floor is yours.
Of course. And that's at Shane216 Taylor, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.com/notorious Shane Taylor. Head on over to ROHWrestling.com, check out, or shophonor.com, check out the merchandise there. ROHWrestling.com. You're able to sign up for Honor Club, follow everything that myself and the rest of STP are doing, as well as, you know, ProWrestlingTees.com/Shane Taylor and all of that good stuff. It's been a crazy 14 years so far. We're looking forward to as many more, you know, as I am able to have, Lord willing. And it's going to be a great time. It's going to be a great ride for all involved.
Yep, definitely. And it's been a great ride so far. I think definitely I'll be looking for you there on the socials as well. You can feel free to also throw us a follow. You know, I'll be happy to have you do that. But just don't do it until I actually take the time to follow you, which I probably should have done before this interview. But no time like the present. So, you know, I'll be sure to be keeping up on what you're doing and be sure to get the message out there of what Shane Taylor Promotions is all about. Since you're a friend of the show, we will always have your back. Anything you want to promote, you know, you can count on us. And I very much appreciate you giving us the time here to get some insight into what you're all about. And if ever you want to come on here and kick it again, you're more than welcome. We will gladly roll out the red carpet for you, my friend.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me. Appreciate that. Stay blessed, yeah?
Likewise. Well, what a great episode that was. I want to once again thank 1/3 of the Ring of Honor 6-man World Tag Team Champion Shane Taylor for being my guest here on Jofo in the Ring. And you know what my favorite part of this interview was? It was the fact that I didn't have to have Kyle sitting here across from me because, you know, who wants to see that face when we got two handsome, athletic dudes like me and Shane Taylor on here entertaining you people, giving the people what they want, in the words of our good friends, the Dirty Heels. I thank you so much for joining us. We got a fantastic show coming up again next week, so you will not want to miss it. But more importantly than all that, never forget that wrestling is life. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you expecting a blooper reel? Come on. I don't mess up. I don't flub my lines. If I'm in a blooper reel, it's just because I'm there laughing at either, you know, Frank or Kyle, who doesn't know how to get the job done when the red light is on the camera. Ain't no blooper reel when I'm here, people. And that's the truth.
But no matter what stands in my way, I'm gonna make my dreams come true.
Did you get your ass kicked again?
Yeah, Ma.
You paid $50 an hour. I wrestle 1 hour a week, you idiot.
Woo! You're next. What are you gonna do?
Or die trying.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
I guess you're all out of bubblegum?
world, here comes Joey-licious.
You're not swinging al fresco under there, are you?